During my last practicum at De La Salle College, Canberra, I was given a Year 8 English class in which one student, James, was particularly disruptive. I noted from the 2-day visits I had undertaken prior to my block that James was displaying behaviour that was disruptive for the whole class. Swinging on chairs and continually leaving his table were common occurrences, I noted. After my first lesson on creative writing, in which we as a class looked at various stimulus to generate different ideas and scaffold a response, it was clear to me that just separating James was not going to be the answer I needed. During the first lesson, James strolled into class 7 minutes late, throwing a football around and talking to his classmates. Reprimanding James's diary as suggested by my supervising teacher did not help this situation. James became irritated, and this only seemed to make his behaviour more disruptive towards the class. I, struggling with how to deal with James, and with not much help from my supervising teacher, sought solace in the book Educational Psychology, in which we looked at back in first year. In Chapter 6 of Educational Psychology, O'Donnell et al. Write that changes in the environment will result in changes in behaviour, and when looking from a behavioural viewpoint, automatically puts into perspective the behaviour that James was exhibiting. So perhaps the behaviour was reflective of a newcomer coming into his classroom, in which he was not happy about. I subsequently ran this theory past the classroom teacher, who said that whilst his behaviour on the day was particularly disruptive, it had been quite bad leading up to that point also. Asked how my supervising teacher dealt with James on a daily basis, the reply I got was, "Generally, we try and ignore him." I then came across Bloom's taxonomy, something I had learnt back in first year, a simple yet effective way of clearly stating goals achievable by the student. I thought this would be an effective way of showing James that he can reach his goals. So I utilised Teaching Standard 3.1, titled Establish Challenging Learning Goals, which states, set learning goals that provide achievable challenges for students of varying abilities and characteristics in relation to Bloom's taxonomy. I thought that by clearly stating the goal that James had to achieve by the end of the lesson and week would motivate James to not be late, to stay focused, and not distract his peers. After talking with James at the start of the lesson, just outside the classroom, about his goal and what he would like to achieve, it quickly became clear to me that this strategy was not going to work, as the response I got read something along the lines of, "Sing like Shannon Knoll." And there was some kind of fascination with Shannon Knoll erupting in every classroom of the school at the time. In hindsight, I feel I should have given James an explicit learning goal to achieve and not allow him the freedom to answer my question with a response like I got. In my desperation to try and teach James, I stumbled upon Carl Rogers and his humanist approach to teaching, and thought I might try my luck. Rogers was an advocate for having internal and external psychological conditions present and nurtured. Harrington, Block and Block, in the article, writes, the first of these external conditions, psychological safety, is created when an individual's social world accepts the individual as having unconditional worth, provides a climate in which external evaluation is absent, and understands the individual empathetically. The other external condition, psychological freedom, is created by granting an individual permission to engage in unrestrained symbolic expression. Having this in my mind made me think about the ways in which James has just been ignored by his classroom teacher and peers for displaying behaviour that is not desirable. It became clear to me that James needed nurturing in the classroom environment and some guidance to achieve the work tasks. So using my drama background, I talked to my supervising teacher about creating a mini drama unit. This unit would essentially help students to think creatively without having to sit behind a desk and write during the last 2 weeks of term. Closely working with different groups and having each member of the group's ideas be shared improved the behaviour and motivation of not only James, but the class as a whole. Students were turning up early to class to see what activities we would be undertaking, and James was not the first in line, but he was no longer 7 minutes late. My supervising teacher did not give me much in the way of feedback for these lessons, in which, looking back, I wish I had asked for. But by re-evaluating the lessons I had planned, and by revisiting some theories looked at previously, really helped in my understanding of why James was misbehaving. I was challenged to think outside my usual box and differ from what my supervising teacher had been doing for James in order to help him. I was scared about going against my supervising teacher, but wow, The behavior improvements were very, very much worth it.
Created using Powtoon.